What's up, man?
Hey, Tim. Good, man. Long time. How's it going?
Dude, I'm doing very good. I just moved and getting my life in order, but happy to sit down for a minute. This will be episode two. We had a little hiccup with our episodes, and so this is episode two. And today we kind of wanted to talk about some current events. First thing was kind of like just like a big thing. I think it's super cool. Like just the emission reduction just happened. Do you want to kind of talk about that? Like where are we at and where we're going?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're at 21 now. Is the block reward, and so I think I counted this morning. We have 6 more steps from a decrease of 3 to get to 3. So sometime in 2026. So I think the miners are definitely starting to feel it. I mean, especially from earlier this year, we were at like 30, we were at like 33 or something like that, and then now or does that make sense? Anyways, we were at something like that, and then now here we are at 21. Next one's about to be 18. So, less and less ERG being mined, and the price is still sort of consistently the same. So it's an interesting sort of trade-off from a mining perspective right now, to where we're getting even less ERG, essentially the same electricity costs, around the same sort of cost to sort of sell it. So hopefully start to see some pressure, one way or the other, hopefully up, to kind of alleviate some of the mining sort of struggles at the moment. But kind of exciting nonetheless. Another sort of halving, but not so.
I mean, honestly, it's more than a halving since when I started. I think when I got in at 21, it was 72, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of ERG right now, and
right.
It was a lot of ERG, when we were at $10 or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I think about that, I just like learned so much about like trading and stuff. Like oh, I should definitely have taken profits, because I knew it was going to happen, and it was actually more aggressive. The emission was more aggressive before we changed it. Do you want to talk about the emission, the contract, the new change that happened?
I'm not too familiar, I guess. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Sure. So there was an initial emission curve that had all of the ERG being emitted, I think in like 8 years. So by so like before 2030, like all the ERG would have been emitted, and so it was like really aggressive. And then they voted on this via mining, which is sick. So they had people indicate their preference with a setting in their config file, and they got 90% consensus, which is sick. And so now, that's
90%.
I'm gonna take an aside. I'm gonna skip the story. I'll come back. Anyway, so now some of the ERG gets put into a re-emission contract. So that initial emission is split. So some of it goes to the miners, some of it goes to a contract, and that contract is then delayed. And so that is how we've created like a longer tail to like 2045 or something. Yeah. So after we get down to 3 ERG, it's all going to be coming from the re-emission contract.
Okay, right.
Not very much ERG, and it's just a lot of pressure. And kind of like you said, one way or the other, it's going to go someplace.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's I kind of remember now. Now that we're saying that, where it's like it was kind of a big deal in the ecosystem at the time, to where I think Coastal Crypto made like a video to where it's like the devs are like stealing your ERG. Basically, it's like, oh, they're changing something in the blockchain, and in reality, I guess you could shape it how you want, but in reality, it's like it's for the longevity of the chain. And I'm looking at it right now. It looks like actually 2044 this month on the 27th, it'll looks like it'll go to 0. right after that. So I mean, yeah, that's quite a long time to be mining, ERG from then. And then we have TIMERG as well, so hopefully, so we're starting to hit it now within our mining pool within the last 4 years. But, there just needs to be sort of these incentives for miners to stay on the network. And even Bitcoin has that sort of kind of built into their protocol too. But like you were saying, I think it's way further out, right? Isn't it like by 21?
Like 2144.
Yeah, right. So that's an extremely long time that they're going to be slowly mining. So and will be interesting as well. Like we're sort of approaching these limits. So like very early on, a lot of tokens will be distributed on our network, Bitcoin's network. And will be interesting is, I guess we're approaching some sort of like limit with respect to that. And we'll see how that actually gets to play out. You know what I mean? It's like these sorts of parameters that we get to change now, we'll actually get to see those end results and how well Ergo's sort of protocol worked out compared to Bitcoin and vice versa. So that'll be kind of interesting in 20 years.
Yeah, man, 100%. And I'm also just really excited to see how adjustable fees and the TIMERG and also things like fair initial mining offerings can support mining in that really low emission environment. Like once we get to 3, I feel like it's going to make other things quite valuable. It's like you're going to need to be paying attention to the TIMERG, to like what can be scavenged and collected by your mining pool. And if your mining pool's not doing that, it's probably not going to be profitable, So it's going to really incentivize innovation and people finding new ways to identify things faster or offer rewards to the miners for starting their projects.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. Because people are actually doing that now, where they're able to get these the UTXOs with TIMERG, but without hash power for some reason. I don't really know the nuances of it, but somebody's able to essentially run a script and gather those UTXOs, I think without hash at least. And QX would be the better person, I guess, to explain that than myself. But and so I think, all just continuing to push innovation with this sort of thing is interesting. But then you brought up fair initial mining offering. So would that be more of like just a token on like a network to where it's like, would that be a side chain? Would that be sort of like a layer 2? What would that sort of be, I suppose?
Yeah. Okay. So I think it could be either. I guess when I was talking about it, I was imagining like, let's say you wanted to come up with a new protocol, like a lending protocol or whatever, and you wanted to distribute your governance tokens or something. You could offer them as mining rewards, right? To be collected, and you can so you could just like add like, oh, I'm gonna input 10 tokens every block to be mined. And I'm not sure if that's done through some sort of script, maybe like mimicking the re-emission contract, or if you would just like set the block height to whatever you want it to be, so it could be collected like garbage. Probably either way.
Totally.
But and then it's just like whoever gets it, and they're not like paying you, not a security, Jerome Powell.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
And then you brought up sidechains and layer 2s. So I think also it's like kind of like those are getting mined also, right? And so if you're running your miner and there's a side chain going on that's the same algo as Autolycos, it's like you're kind of getting both of those rewards at the same time, I think.
Okay, interesting. Because I think it's an interesting concept, and there's a lot of, I suppose it depends on like the security aspects and what you're trying to do with it. Because I think from like a token perspective, it would be interesting because I feel like that would be like the lowest hanging fruit. And if you had like all you would need to do is essentially, if your mining pool supported it, you could just say, hey, look at my participation when we find a block on Ergo. oh, you found that block on Ergo. Here's the reward you get from like, Marc and Tim's smart contract, and then you get 10 tokens for that block reward, and then that distributes. But then I guess you'd have to build in some like why would you want to do that aside from like the fair initial mining offering standpoint? Like, would it make sense for just one pool to support it, or do all pools need to support it? So it's kind of an interesting. How fair do you want to be? Because fairness is in some sense subjective, and so so it's like a spectrum even, I guess.
Yeah. So I think when you get into a side chain, like you might have an application specific side chain, right? So it's like a chain running, kind of leveraging Ergo's security, but it has a specific purpose. So like maybe there's like one dApp that's just has its own little chain, and then maybe it's like they kind of, to your point, like they don't want everyone to get those tokens. They might want their tokens to be distributed under certain conditions. Totally. So I think it just allows a lot of things to be possible, which is super cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be fun to work on something like that. I think Armenio posted that as sort of like an idea for the next coming Ergo hack for somebody to work on. So hopefully somebody picks that up. That'd be cool to see.
Yeah, for sure. So, dude, did you see NiceHash is starting to require KYC?
Yeah, that makes me somewhat nervous as like the mining pool operator for, and even QX, right, for the Sigmanauts mining pool. Is we've talked a little bit about it and what we're going to do and stuff. But I mean, it's cool for a lot of our tools, right? The whole point is to be permissionless. I don't need anybody's permission to join the network. So I think it's like, in some sense, bullshit, right? If I can say that here, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Oh man. So every time something like that happens, it reinforces that I've kind of made the right choice to associate myself with Ergo. My values align, and it's like, we're trying to enable freedom and have a open, permissionless, transparent network for anyone to participate in. And I have to register with you and give you my personal information. Dude, I honestly hate doing that because I've gotten 4 notices in the past, I'll say 18 months that some organization has been hacked and lost my data. And what? Stop doing that. And stop asking me to give it to you.
Yeah, and it's like, and then you have to give it to them for free. They're not safeguarding it. There's no protocol in place to where it's like, hey, I can, I'm going to give you this information, and I don't necessarily have to trust like your own security and privacy. Let's let the blockchain do it for us. But here we have all these people in the way with their sort of, I guess systems that are hackable in some sense, and then here we are where it's like, then all your data is distributed, and which is crazy because like even from like a business sense, you can come up with LLCs and trusts that obfuscate your own name away. You know what I mean? So like, so in theory, like that could be a legitimate way for somebody to maybe avoid like you are tied to like this mining rig, like come up with an LLC or trust, I suppose. But so then at least it's tied in some like entity, I guess, and things like that. But yeah,
dude. So something really interesting about LLCs in the United States, they just made a law that you have to now associate your LLC with your legal name. So like there's KYC on LLCs now, so that's going away.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah, I think at the start of 25.
Okay, well I better get mine ready to go then.
Yeah.
So I mean, then it comes back to like the first principles of Ergo of just like, again, why like, being permissionless, privacy is important. You know what I mean? I'm getting ready to move too. I'm going to rent out my house. Like, I don't really want my renters knowing what I own, knowing what I have. I don't want them to know my name. You know what I mean? So like privacy is like extremely important, especially when, you're doing just like day-to-day sort of like deals. And then, then there's becomes like all these attack vectors, as you could say, once you actually know somebody's like who they are and where they live. You know, there have been like home invasions because certain people have found out where they live. They know they're a YouTube personality, like on, you know, or something like that, right? And then they try to steal their crypto keys or, you know, and shit like that. It's crazy. So, dude, I mean, be tied to that is just like insane.
And the whole thing around KYC and blockchain is kind of funny to me because it's like, I think through zero knowledge proofs, like you could absolutely prove that it's not you without giving away your identity.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
totally.
like that's the magic of ZK, right? Like
yeah.
you can prove that it's not you. And so then what? Like why do I have to give you all my info?
Totally. Well, I think it's just maybe like regulation trying to catch up with crypto, and they're trying to do their best. They're like, oh, I don't really understand this. And they don't, I guess, maybe understand like why certain things are so important. But I think on the other hand, because it's kind of like, if you think about it, like it's sort of like this predator prey sort of like kind of mindset and or model you can model it as, to where, you know, Bitcoin, to say this prey in this example, we starts to come up. There's a lot of like Bitcoin people. We need to get regulation starts to come down, so more predators. So there's like a balance between this sort of ecosystem model, I guess you could like sort of envision. And then eventually, I guess one or depending on, I guess, the ecosystem, right? You know, one, the predator or the prey becomes extinct, right? And so hopefully, I guess in this case, neither, because really the game is to continue to play the game. And so hopefully, you know, we create more tools to kind of get around certain things that we essentially want to get around from a legal perspective. And the legal system's like, oh, I see, this is really important for that reason. Okay, let's adjust this over here, and kind of vice versa. We need to, I think, have the talks, but the way they're doing it is not the right way to kind of go about it, I would say. You know, it's very, very much a lot of control.
Yeah, totally, man. And it's like just reinforcing how much they don't get it, you know. Like,
right.
And like, bless his heart, you know, Trump is starting his, what's it called, like freedom finance or something, and it's like,
oh my gosh, right, yeah.
Step 1, KYC, like,
right, yeah.
All right, but you know, lucky for us, the ethos around Ergo has leading to like some really cool solutions. Lithos,
Totally.
coming online. For those of you who haven't heard of that, Lithos is like a distributed, permissionless mining pool, kind of run on the blockchain. So you don't, you know, it's not like a centralized thing like NiceHash where like somebody's responsible for all your stuff. It's actually run on the blockchain. And so that's coming online as 6.0 gets finished, Node 6.0. I don't really know enough about it to talk about it. But I think that's a sign for us to get a guest on here who has something to contribute there. I think I bet Kushti would come and tell us about 6.0.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that'd be a lot of fun. I mean, just because I think with 6.0 comes a lot of things just from, so yeah, we have Lithos, I think Sigma protocols. So I think that's side chains, you know, so really sort of like, it's a door, and potentially a pretty big door from like a ecosystem perspective. So then once we have this, there's a lot of not little, I suppose, but other things we can sort of tie and attach to, and then more applications mean more real world applications. And, you know, that's going to be really cool to see.
Yeah, man. I think side chains are one of the things that I got most excited about when I started learning about Ergo. I remember, what was it called? Ergo.meta, right? And it's like a sidechain cookbook is what I remember Kushti's writing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Characterizing it. So it's just like a dev kit, right? But for these, like, here's how you make your sidechain. And I just kind of, my imagination kind of goes wild. Like, you know, we talked about application specific sidechains, but I also like to think about building like Monero on top of Ergo. That way it's like kind of capturing the more, I don't want to say extreme, but like the more maximal viewpoint. Totally. Of like, you know, I really get why people like Monero. You know, it's, I think that is maybe the most valid maximalism in my view. It's like I see Bitcoin maximalism as like being conservative and not wanting to like risk all your money on some like brand new shitcoin. I get it. But I also think, somebody who's like, no, we need to have an unstoppable tool. That's Monero. That makes sense to me. And it just needs some legs. Like you need to have DeFi, you need to have lending and borrowing and stablecoins and all this stuff. And if we can put that on Ergo as a side chain, or somehow bridging it, I don't know. I'm not the guy to give you the technical details, but if we can give Monero some legs, like now we're cooking with gas,
Yeah, that would be huge. And isn't Monero mined with CPUs?
Mm-hmm.
I think, right? Yeah. So I mean, that's just so accessible. Like everybody, for the most part, has a CPU when they're mining Ergo. So you could probably dual mine in some aspects, and it would be cool too. A cool opportunity for the Sigmanauts mining pool to kind of stand up other pools on these side chains to kind of support that. And yeah, I mean, especially just with this whole KYC thing, having that privacy aspect, that privacy buffer, just to be able to say, hey, I hear what you're saying, government, but I'm still going to do this, and protect yourself, right? Because like ultimately, in some places, it is against the law. I'm not trying to get arrested. I have a little one at home, you know what I mean? So it's like, let's make sure. And so having those tools, building for war, so to speak, is, it's going to be very important that you have the proper tools, right? So if you're going against war against somebody who has bullets and all you have is a shield that can't stop bullets or something like that, that's not really going to do too well. Versus having so we need the proper equipment to be able to say, hey, no, I hear what you're saying, but we're still going to do this. And it's, like you're saying, unstoppable. So yeah, it's a powerful idea.
Yeah. So I think this means we need to get somebody smarter than the two of us to
absolutely
teach us about side chains, about 6.0, all that. All right. So, hey, I'm going to move us forward. We wanted to talk a little bit about something that happened a few years ago, just like a little story about something that Ergo went through and like was hardened by. I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully this doesn't mess up Andy's beautiful work. All right. There we go.
Nice. The Bearwhale.
Yeah. So these are so that Bearwhale, all right, first of all, is an awesome drawing.
Absolutely.
The Bearwhale saga. This was in 2021, where a large holder was draining the SIG USD account, right, or the bank, specifically attacking the RSV holders. And so just to kind of give an overview, some prior knowledge, Sigma USD is our kind of flagship stablecoin, and it works by having two tokens. So the Sigma USD here and SIG RSV. So USD is obviously pegged to $1, and that peg is maintained by allowing volatility in the RSV, which is like the reserve token. Okay, so there's the bank that holds all the ERG, and then the value of these two tokens is one of them is held stable, and then the other fluctuates based on the value of the ERG that's held in the bank. Right. So these are kind of the rules that it operates under. So you can always redeem your SIG USD, but you can't mint the USD unless there is 400% of the value in the reserve. So if there's not enough reserves, then you can't mint the USD, and if there's not enough reserves, you also can't redeem your RSV. So you can kind of get locked in, and so these are the rules, and the Bearwhale was able to manipulate the rules in this first version in Sigma USD version 1. Okay. What he was doing was like super clever. Sometimes when I'm in blockchain, I'm just like, man, I'm just not that smart compared to all these guys. So he was taking advantage of the Oracle speed, right? So the Oracle would so he would jump into a position of SIG-USD, and then the Oracle is reading the markets in, I don't know, we'll say Trade Ogre or whatever, and he had enough ergs to sell all the erg in that, crash the price. The Oracle would read that price, and then so his SIG-USD position would actually be able to be redeemed for more erg than he bought it for, right? So then he would buy SIG-USD, crash the price. The Oracle would see that crash, and then that would be reflected here. So let's say he paid $100 or 100 erg for 100 SIG-USD. Then the value of the erg goes down to, let's say it's now his SIG-USD is worth 120 erg. He switched back in and then bought his position back to raise the price. And so he was able to like slowly collect ergs. Not slowly, but over time he collected a bunch of erg just by gaming this little system. And so there's a cool article in the ergoplatform.org if anyone wants to read about it. You can see how the community was like learning about it, tracking his wallets. People started writing scripts to kind of like try to get around this, you know, and not let it happen. And eventually what the team had to do was like slow down the rate of change that the Oracle could report. So I think it's now they limited the update to 0.5% every 30 minutes, up or down. And so so now if the Bearwhale tried to do it again, he would actually have to hold the price down for
for a lot longer,
for longer, and for more than 30 minutes if he wanted a 0.5% change. And so it's not, might not be really worth the risk. And actually when it happened, I think this article says he lost 170,000 erg trying to keep doing it after they patched the protocol, which I just thought was like a really cool story about finding an attacker who had just like not like clever, like good on him, but ended up prevailing in the end.
How long was the whole saga, like from like when, I guess from the initial attack to when they patched it? Because I would imagine once they kind of figured out like, oh wow, I see what's happening, we need to kind of act now, I'm curious.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how long it was. It says something about between $2 and $4. So probably not that long. I bet it was like 6 months that the version 1 was going, and then they updated it to version 2.
I mean, thankfully that happened now, honestly, versus like, imagine if we had like multiple Bearwhales attacking at the same time, just essentially, just, I guess, attacking the network in that aspect. And especially when, it was like so high in terms of price. And even some people now say it's the prices or what it's being manipulated in some sense. And maybe it is, you know what I mean? With all these guys, with all these like 100,000 erg he lost, like, so he must have been using a lot more than 100,000. That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how I feel about like, okay, so I think the term manipulation is a little bit funny because to me, if it's just like a market, and like people are selling and buying and like you could do whatever you want.
Absolutely.
I think the only time it becomes really unethical is like if the founders are doing something, like if the Ergo Foundation treasury is being used to like do the Bearwhale thing, like that's messed up.
Right.
But if it's just like some rich guy, like it's what it
totally
is. But,
yeah.
So jump on,
Take as much control as you want, right? So I mean, the rules are there. If you can do it, then send it. I totally agree. But yeah, something's happening, I guess. But in any case, it's interesting though. It's like, how does somebody even figure out that you can even do the thing that the Bearwhale did. You know what I mean? Like that must have taken some serious, or maybe not. I don't know. I mean, I haven't really played too much around with it, the idea, but sounds pretty complicated and complex to be able to kind of sort through. And then obviously they had some pretty confidence in doing it, especially since, even after it was patched, they kept sending it and trying it to then realize, oh, wow, okay, maybe they fixed it or something like that. Right.
Yeah. And even more to my point about like, man, it's like whatever, it's just like how the world works. This ended up hardening not just the SIG-USD protocol with the changes,
Totally.
now it's stronger, but it led to like, oh, like we could come up with maybe simpler designs or other more secure designs for stablecoins. And that's
Right.
led us on to DEXI and Gluon,
Totally.
which are super cool. Like, I'll just kind of share the Gluon design. It has these two tokens that are kind of like SIG-USD and SIG-RSV. So this is the stable coin that's not really stable. It's just pegged to gold. And then this is the reserve token. But you don't just buy one, like you have to mint both, which
Right.
is pretty cool. And that allows for a lower reserve ratio requirement, right? So since everyone's like simultaneously minting both of these, and then they have to sell, if you actually just wanted gold, well, then you have to sell your guac over here. I keep calling it guac, GAUC. You have to keep selling this, and then you get all gold or only gold, and that leads to the protocol earning fees, so that it can kind of maintain that peg by
I see.
Mm-hmm.
That's very
smart. Super cool. Just like another version of it, and then this DEXI Gold. So DEXI Gold is, I think, maybe even simpler, where it's just an auto arbitrage mechanism, right? So there's like a bank. So like when this came out a long time ago, I tried to make like a visual of it, and this could be totally wrong. So I would love for somebody to just kind of make fun of me for not understanding.
sick, dude. This is sick.
So this is a long time ago. Okay, so the DEXI, I think, works like this. There's like the bank where it can buy and sell tokens out of this AMM, and that is reading the Oracle price for gold, and so that's how it just decides what to do. If the price needs to go up or down to match the price of gold, then it takes the action in the AMM, and then users are able to interact with the AMM, right? So they're buying and selling, and then the fees go to the bank. So the bank's value is going to grow over time, and capacity will increase as users use the protocol.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I thought it was cool.
So what's, I guess, the difference then between DEXI and Gluon?
So Gluon, it like has that reserve, like you are like sending your ergs in and then receiving these two tokens, and then the algorithm kind of balances the value of those two, and it has that reserve token. DEXI doesn't have a reserve token. It's just it's how did he say it? It's one token with like two protocols. So instead of two tokens with one protocol on Gluon. Interesting. So in DEXI, it's just like gold and erg, and there's the bank doing stuff, and then there's the AMM doing stuff to balance the price. That's what I think, and I'd love to like get some nuance. So maybe that's another episode in the future for us.
Yeah, I think so, because I have like a lot of questions, like why would you want to have a reserve? Like who makes the reserve? So do you have to do like a initial funding of it, and then there's builds the reserve versus like DEXI is looking at the bank, you know what I mean, in terms of gold. And then I would imagine, right, because of the reserve token, there's probably nuances to where you could do arbitrage between these gold stable coins back to back, because of how their mechanisms kind of increase and decrease their prices.
Yeah, so I think Dexy might actually, I think you're right. Like you would have to kind of fund that bank. But it
Okay.
eventually is like a locked protocol. Like it's a protocol owned liquidity there. You know what I mean? Like nobody owns that. It's non-custodial. It's just locked in a contract that operates autonomously. It's not like somebody's erg is sitting in that bank. That's what I think.
Well, then how does the gold, I guess, work into the play then? Because because then I guess technically you're buying gold, right? But then where's the actual gold, I suppose, come into play? Because wouldn't, in theory, the bank buy real gold in
So
order
it's
to have, right?
in like in a real life thing, yes. So
Yeah.
this is minting those tokens, and
Mhm.
the value is represented in the AMM. So it has
Okay.
ERG and the gold tokens, and the bank can mint gold tokens and buy and sell those in the AMM.
Right. I guess I'm confused on just like what it's backed by. You know what I mean? Like, well, how does it
Oh,
inherently
the
hold its
ERG.
value? Yeah,
Oh,
just the order. Got it. Okay.
ERG and the Oracle.
Okay. Interesting.
And it's well, I think it's similar to like SIG-USD, where it's like it's just algorithmic and like, yeah, is this worth $1? It's just a token.
Right.
But since you can sell your SIG-USD for $1 worth of ERG, that's what makes it valuable. That's what like ensures its value. And so the same thing here, you're getting this token that's like, yeah, it's not real gold,
Mhm.
which would be really interesting. I would love to have like, some warehouse actually selling tokens that you could go get the gold.
Right. Yeah. Right.
But in this case, it's like, no, it's just this autonomous protocol that will give you the Oracle price of gold in ERG when you
I
want it.
gotcha. So it's like it's more of like a synthetic gold
Yeah.
per se than like so would the same be true for gluon in the reserve token? But it'd be more of like a synthetic, but like with a reserve, I guess, and then that has its own, I guess, inherent properties relative to, I guess.
Yeah. So Dexy, I think, uses the users mostly and the bank to buy and sell things to maintain that price. And then
Got it.
Gluon is uses the algorithm to kind of tell you how much you can purchase these for or redeem your reserve token for. And that reserve token is going to go up and down, kind of like exaggerated movements of the ERG to BTC price.
Right. No, that's very fascinating because I mean, imagine like being able to do this just for, and I think that's kind of almost where like chain cash comes into play, to where it's like kind of take these models of where it's like, okay, let's just get rid of gold, let's abstract away, and then like let's put like my house, you know what I mean, and then you can like tokenize your house and then sell certain aspects of your house or whatever real world applications actually make sense, I suppose. But like actual gold would be sick. Like, yeah, here's my my warehouse of gold. We've got 10 bars or whatever it is, and then that's what kind of how they're doing with which would be very similar to the ETF, what they're doing with the Bitcoin ETF, in some aspects.
Dude, so funny that I'm admitting this right now on Twitter. I actually I spam Peter Schiff and tell him that he should be tokenizing his gold on the Ergo blockchain, and he could sell it and earn. I mean, you could earn a 1% fee. Like, why don't you do that? And just every time someone needs to buy or redeem their gold token backed by his gold, he owns a gold company. It's like,
okay, but there you
come
go.
on, bro. Like, you hate Bitcoin.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Does he like blockchain though?
I don't know. I don't know.
True.
His whole position is weird because I think like gold and Bitcoin's value proposition is just so similar. Like,
yeah,
like why hate one or the other?
Totally. I was actually just thinking the other day, I'm like, I should buy some gold. Like that should be something, buy some of those assets, some silver,
Dude, I own gold and silver and uranium. Like,
okay. Uranium? That's wild. You have to let me know how I can buy that.
Oh, just stocks, bro. Stocks. I don't actually own any uranium.
Tim's building nukes out in Arizona.
Yeah. My kids are going to be weird.
Yeah. You actually work for the CIA, so it's cool. No.
All right, brother. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about today?
No, I think that we've definitely talked a lot and hit a lot of good, exciting topics. So, I mean, maybe we save it for the next episode.
Yeah. So just a disclaimer to everybody. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just a guy, and I like to read a lot. I don't understand everything perfectly. So if me and Marc get something wrong, I'd love to learn, and you can be a guest and come and drop your knowledge on us.
Yeah, please do. I mean, for sure. Like, correct us and let us know how it is, please.
Yeah, I'm an idea guy. That's it.
Right.
I like that Rick Rubin clip where he's like, "No, I'm not good at music. I don't know anything. I know what I like and what I don't like."
Right. He's just this hit producer for like all these bands. It's like cool. Yeah. I mean that's honestly that's a good takeaway just in life. It's like, and even with Ergo, right? It's like, well, if you really want to get excited and do something, you just got to be excited and do it. You don't really need to know like whatever. Here we are. We don't know everything about Ergo, and we're talking about it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure,
and it's fun, having a blast doing it.
Yeah. All right, brother. I hope you have a great day. Stay safe out there.
Cool. See you, everyone.